Well, pretty excited this morning to be talking to Indigenous artist, legend of, started on AGT, has toured Australia and I don't know, the rest of the world. Just happens to be able to speak multiple languages, I've looked up his resume and I'm just a little blown away. Mitch Tambo, g'day. Welcome to Father Figures.
Yeah, Miyama, thank you for having me.
Now, are you on tour right now?
I am. I'm in the middle of the IME youth tour. It's all systems go, and we're just having a ball.
And basically, you're going around schools and bringing conversations to them around maybe some of your experiences growing up in school. What's your key message when you go into schools these days?
Oh, look, I think it's just about that celebration of identity, of belonging, and encouraging the next generation to embrace all of who they are and not feel like they have to fit into the muffin tray, because we're all different and we're all beautifully made and we have similarities, but we also have unique individual qualities that need to be celebrated too.
Is it weird for you going back into schools, seeing the kids and remembering yourself in that, sitting on the floor, cross-legged on your bum, watching the kids? Is it a weird transaction to be having now?
Well, I think the whole thing that really inspired it was wanting to get back to those mirrored versions of yourself, that younger version of yourself, and being able to be in a position to give back and to pour into those versions of yourself. So to go back in and to see many different young people at different stages in their life and see those different sort of similarities that you once saw in yourself, it's a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I'm just really blessed to be a part of doing this tour. Yeah.
Do the kids, obviously, do you get to sing and play as well while you're there? Do you?
Yeah, it's a full-on party. So I bring the whole party. We get crazy. I've been trampled like 3 times. It gets wild, but within that is a beautiful thread of honesty and of storytelling and being able to run more intimate sessions like yarning circles that are geared towards, letting go and healing, but also just opening up and creating a safe space to have conversations. And that can only happen, I think, through me sharing my own story, my own trials and tribulations. And yeah, it's been incredible the way in which it's been received and the feedback that I've had from not only staff but kids that have reached out after or have shared with me in that moment. So yeah.
How many siblings did you grow up with?
I'm the only
you're the
child,
only.
but I've got 3 stepbrothers coming up and other brothers that aren't necessarily biologically related, but I share a deep bond with that I call my brothers, and I hold them in that esteem and regard for sure.
So am I right in thinking that maybe you had a few different experiences? You started out just you in the house, it was you by yourself. Then there's an experience of a blended family. Then there's an experience of kind of those, what we might call adopted family as well.
Yeah, man, I guess I like spiritual family, I guess you'd call it. You've been brought together. And but yeah, growing up was sort of only me in the house, but over with my dad there was 3 stepbrothers. And yeah, so I got to see him through school holidays and then just kick it with all the brothers and play heaps of sport and do heaps of things together. So that was cool in my earlier years.
Mm.
And then yeah, growing up, life takes you in different directions and you come across other people and they become your family.
I know that school wasn't exactly the easiest thing for you. Did you get right through high school? Did you push through, or was it?
I pushed through, man.
Yeah.
I pushed through rebelliously. School was school, like it had its moments, but for me, school was a social playground and I was there for sport and I was able to share culture, which really kept me engaged. Other than that, I wasn't really engaged, but towards the end of my schooling, I decided, you know what, I want to go to university and I'd failed everything miserably, but I found avenues and ways and I 4 weeks after failing, I topped this university program at an academic level, got an academic award, and I got in. It just goes to show, like, you shouldn't just give up on kids and young people just because they're not engaged in a system. You have to just find something in them that they're passionate about, and you will see their academic, skill sets come to surface, and they'll just dive on in and can be successful.
Who called that out in you? Who was there? Was there a teacher? Was there someone?
Man, I called it out in myself, to be honest. I
Really?
said, I'm going to university, and everyone was kind of like, what? What do you mean? Like, the teachers around me, a lot of them were more like, man, you need to leave school while you're here. And I think the FAMS was like, maybe you should get a trade, but you're not really that kind of dude that's going to get under a truck.
Mm.
Maybe just get a full-time job. That'll be sweet. And I just randomly said, I'm going to university. And everyone was kind of like, what? What are you going to do? And I thought I'd do performing arts. That wasn't an option. It was business, law, medicine, or social work. And I thought, you know what, social work sounds easy. I'm gonna roll with that. And I soon learned that it's not just a hard field, but it was a field that I'd really resonated with because I
Right.
kind of was that kid, you know, single mom and the whole sort of story. So I was able to resonate and connect with it really, really fast.
You followed through and got an undergrad in social work, yeah?
I did, man. Got a bachelor's degree in social work, and yeah, fought my way through there.
Where does
And
the
yeah,
yeah, where does the music story begin for you then?
music story begins, man. I kind of just grew up around music, I guess, and grew up in an incredible town in Tamworth, a really, you know, cultural town, and
Mm.
was able to be immersed in my culture and learn my culture. And that's all I ever wanted to do with my life was to learn and share that. But long story short, many, many, many years later, I was hosting a TV show and I met one of my best mates on there, Dan, and he just said to me one day, man, you should do music. You'd be great.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, you must be mad, dude. What am I going to do? And he's like, man, you play mean Dig everywhere we go. People always ask you to play it and then they want an album. You should do it. So he conned me into it. And I said, look, you tell me what to buy, I'll buy it, but you got to promise you'll come around and set it up for me and show me how to do this. So he did that. And in
Nice.
7 days, I'd written my first EP called Gurumali. Got bored, moved out to Uluru. I was out there for 6 months. I rang him and said, man, I heard you can put music on the internet. Chucked 2 songs up, forgot all about it, moved back to Melbourne to host this show again.
Yeah.
Driving down the freeway, my email started going off. You've been crowned Unearthed Artist of the Week, top 5 must listen to in the country. And then I ended up doing about 3 live shows and then ended up on Australia's Got Talent, 2 golden buzzers, signed to the biggest record label in the company, and the rest was history. So it all sort of just went really, I guess, organically and was quite spontaneous. But there's a common thread through my whole life, and that is um, the want and need to share and to understand who I am as an Aboriginal man. And that's what's always spurred me on, whether it's social work, whether it's music, whether it's growing up. There's always been this thread of just passion and love for my culture. Yeah.
The trajectory you've been on has been fueled by lots of experiences. It feels like I know in your background there you've talked a lot about the bullying you received at
Mm,
school and that sort of stuff. That aloneness that happens, that isolation that happens, I feel like so often that becomes almost an explosive force that
mm,
pushes that forces you into places that maybe you would naturally feel uncomfortable with out the front, being seen, singing. Oh my goodness, singing. Wow, that scary as heck. But being able to do it in such a unique and obviously a very new way in the last 20 years at least, you can just record stuff and put it on the internet. You don't
yeah.
have to stand in front of an audience. That feels like a really blessed experience for you that's thrown you into the spotlight. So where's your comfort level now? Are you a lot more comfortable in your own skin doing what you do now?
Yeah, look, man, I'm just rocking. Even back in the day, you're in school and that, and you're getting bullied and blah, blah, blah. It never deterred me for 1 second. I was always down to represent. I couldn't care less. But the bullying still has an impact on you because at the end of the day, you know, you're a human being with a heartbeat and you've got feelings. Obviously, today, where I'm at in my life and career, that's amplified by like a million. I'm constantly under siege across social media. And I mean, under siege sounds quite serious, doesn't it?
Mm.
But that's the reality is I am under siege. I've got people that look after my account, so I don't have to look at the continual bombardment that is across my social media. But it doesn't worry me because I know that, you know, the more I step into who I am and be authentic to me, the more that encourages others to do the same as well. And I've had so many people line up at festivals, at places to meet me for like 40 minutes or more just to shake my hand that aren't just young people, they're people in their 60s that have been impacted by me just stepping out and being a proud, fair skinned blackfella, you know. And I don't fit the mold and I never will fit the mold. But the more that we can journey in life and find acceptance in who we are, the more peace that we find. And I think that that's a lifelong journey. And I'm proud to be on that journey and to be working through that and finding that peace as I go along.
Resilience and peace seem to go together. There's a
Yeah.
resilience that we need that is almost like you said at the start, it's almost a rebellious kind of resilience. I'm just going to
Mm,
get through this. I'm going to prove the teachers wrong, prove the
yeah.
teacher wrong, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And now you're a big grown up. You're married. You've got a blended family.
Mm,
You're co-parenting with Lele, and you've got a daughter of your own. I mean, doesn't that just changes the game again, doesn't it? It just forces you into, okay, I've got to share that now with children, my own children, right here in my own home.
Totally. You just got to go deeper. And that's why, I mean, it's a work that never stops, right? Because you become a dad and then you might have insecurities around that because your dad wasn't around. And you
Mm,
become a husband. It's like, well, I wasn't in a nuclear family. How does that work? You have all these questions and versions of self-doubt and
mm,
unsurety, but it always comes back to just faith and believing and stepping into who you are in that moment and believing that, you're gonna rise to the occasion and it's gonna work out because you're willing to continue to put in that work and
mm.
and to look in that mirror and ask the questions that have to be asked, I suppose. And obviously when Lele and I met, she had three beautiful daughters that are now my daughters. And of course you have self-doubt because you're essentially a young single man that could get a ticket to Japan tomorrow and go and don't have a care in the world, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, well,
Now you got
man,
responsibilities. Yeah.
life's about to get serious for me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I know what it was like to not have a dad present and things like that, and I don't want to be another letdown. So, where are we going to go? And then obviously, me and Lele got Phoenix together, our beautiful youngest, and then that's a whole nother thing too that you step through and you go, oh man, I was about 18 months when dad left. I didn't realize this actually mattered until I'm here holding my baby's arms and she's 18 months old and we're all good. So,
Yeah.
life is all about that journey and that growth, and I think you just got to be prepared to step into it, and sometimes that can be really difficult and confronting.
It sounds like you've been fantastically unprepared for everything you've done, but you've done it anyway.
In this weird way, yeah.
But that faith, obviously, that you carry, and one of the things that moved me was watching you and your wife sing "Amazing Grace" together. That song is just, it resounds literally throughout the earth. That song.
Mm,
What was it about that? I mean, singing with your wife must be an incredible experience anyway.
yeah.
But there's something about that message of grace that's impacted you deeply. Where did that song start for you? Do you remember that as a kid? Were you
I
dragged into
mean,
church, or what was the
yeah, I
story?
think it's just really about, um, I guess the level of grace that's been given to me throughout my life as opposed to the song. I mean, the song, whether you're Christian, Muslim, atheist, you can't escape that song. The song's there and you're going to hear it at some point
Universal
in
for
your
sure.
life.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's rippled through, through the entire earth. But when that song come to us and we had the opportunity to do it, it was more like a reflection of, man, like we've been given grace so much in our life, and there's been so many times in my life where it's just like you're nearly ready to drown,
Mm.
but something happens, dude, and you just get another shot to have another crack at it and to see that sunrise again. And sometimes that is from, a higher power. And there's no denying that in my life. Other times it's someone's just rocked up at the right time and offered an olive branch. So that was about celebrating that journey of grace, but also in the context of Christmas, going, don't forget to. There's a lot of people out there doing it tough, and we get given grace, but we're also in a position to give grace as well and to help someone out and to do the right thing. So yeah,
I think that's why grace amazes us, is always the way I see it, is that it comes from a place that we don't quite understand.
yeah,
We're reminded that there's actually goodness all around us.
yes,
And I guess part of the message you're taking into schools is as negative as a child's experience can be. And, I've been in pastoral positions all my life
hmm,
and worked closely with children and families and seen probably, too many heartbreaking things.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but I don't know, your story, my story. There's so many stories we can tell of for me anyway, God's amazing grace that
yes,
allows us to get up again.
totally,
And I'm excited by what you're doing, especially bringing um, Indigenous culture around Australia. We know the devastation of the past. There
yeah,
can be a better future. Your father, we talk about fathers here, obviously.
yes.
Your father figure.
Yeah.
Uh,
So single mums, mum and dad split about 18 months, something like that. Moved back to the bush, went through the whole crazy, I guess, period of life, sort of me and mum in that sort of housing commission area. Not that there's anything wrong with housing commission areas. They give people roof over their head and all that. But just through my experience, followers targeted a single mum and would steal her cat and dump it at the tip and get drunk, sit on the roof and meow and torment us. And I was that kid laying in the bed next to her, just absolutely petrified, and her sleeping with the crowbar under the bed and checking the houses different hours of the night and having nightmares of thinking they're going to come and kill her and all that kind of thing. And sort of before I knew it, I guess, Pop rocked up one day off a truck and took us. We ended up living out there for many years. So I was about 15. So from a male role model perspective, he was always that consistent in the house through growing up, gave me my
It-
first shave, taught me how to drive, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
dad was the dad that, lived like 4 hours away or something like that, that I saw every 10 weeks and probably talked to every Sunday night or something like that. You know what I mean? Um, but that was, I guess, really difficult being a young person and navigating that. And you don't realize till you're a dad yourself and you reflect on it and go, man, I suffered extreme anxiety as a kid. Every time I had to go see my dad on the holidays, I would get like vomiting and diarrhea. Like, it was crazy because I would see him, be petrified to see him, get to know him all over again as a young person, fall madly in love with him, and then be, ripped away from him again, in inverted commas. Obviously, you got to go back home, you know what I mean? But that's what it felt like. And then you'd be this kid with your head buried in the pillow, just weeping and crying for your dad. And then that resilience that young people have pops back up. You
Mm.
get moving again, and it's time to see him again. Get anxious and nervous to essentially see and be with your dad again, and go through that process. So that was a lot on me as a primary school age kid. But then to the back end of high school and becoming a young adult, I think I just planted, this is who I am and what I'm about, and I'm just going to be me. And we just had the most amazing relationship. He's my best mate, and I loved him dearly. And then unfortunately, he died of cancer not long after. So it was a crazy, crazy little ride. But at the end of the day, everyone does the best with what they got. And I'm just really blessed to have even known my dad and to spend time with him. And even through those times where I talk about the anxiety and all that stuff, once I got through all that kind of business, it's just nothing but great memories. He was a very interactive, not on the couch dad. Whenever I was with him, we were doing something and we're all systems go, and I've got very fond memories, but it's just a shame that how life goes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you live with your dad and you're together the whole time. Other times it's a journey like mine. But I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have had what I had with him.
It's a big way to repackage and reread your story, isn't it? To go back and think, because you now are an adult and you've held
Mm.
your own baby in your hands, and
Yeah,
you couldn't imagine not being without her, and
totally. And
uh,
it flips the script, right? Because you can be like, oh, sort of point the finger and all that kind of stuff as a young person or whatever. But then you become a dad and you go, man, that must have been hard. The thought of being that far away from my girl and all that kind of stuff, it's not even really a thought. So you start to grow this empathy and understanding for maybe what it would have been like on the other side of that phone call on a Sunday night, or what it was like for him on the drive home by himself after dropping me off after that time together. It would have been, I imagine, extremely difficult. But I just know that yeah, for me as a young person, it was extremely just hard and just full of anxiety and unassurity.
were there people around you that understood that there was a little boy who had knots in his tummy? Were
I'm
there?
not sure, man. Like, what, to be honest, I know that my family, like my mum and my nan and pop and stuff, obviously aware of all that because I just get sick, and violently, like pretty ill for that. It's like a 24-hour bug. But I
Mm,
don't know if anyone really identified it. It was like, man, our boy's suffering from extreme anxiety.
mm,
And what can we do to combat that? Because I
mm,
think, at the end of the day, it was probably like super anxious, full of anxiety, sorry, full of anxiety, maybe for my mum too, the fact that I was leaving and I'd be going away and,
mm.
whatever she may have been carrying from that relationship, who really knows? Like, I guess as an adult, there's so many contributing factors and so many things swirling around in the air. Everyone's just trying to pick up and move on and do the best they can with what they got. So I don't think you can sort of label it or judge that kind of experience. You know what I mean?
It's not so much about, I guess, yeah, and certainly not. Because again, as you're a grown up, we're grown ups now. We
Yeah, we
understand
can
that
reflect,
there's
and
so much. Like often I talk with Heath, my co-host, about let's do an episode about all the ways we've failed our children.
yeah.
And we sort of that's a whole series. That's
Yeah,
20
dude.
episodes. Um, so I often think about for all of the plates we spin, there are
Mm,
plates we drop no matter how emotionally, spiritually healthy we are.
mm, mm,
Um, but it just sounds to me like you've done the work to realign your head, heart, body, soul, mind, and it sounds like music has been the language that's allowed you to do a lot of that, especially in connecting with your wife. And,
mm.
is that something like have the kids started singing with you? Is that,
Yeah, Sophie, our eldest, she's been on the road on and off here and there and done festivals and just chuck her in the deep end. Off of the second eldest, I think she's realised, oh, you can get paid for this. She's just
yeah,
kind of like a little bit, do I
hitting
want it?
that
Do
up
I
for a
not?
check? Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Kalani, she is just like pumped and ready to go. But I think she wanted me to tell her you're too young and you can't do it yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, you ready? Let's do it. You can jump on these school shows. We'll take you out of school for a little bit. You can come
Yeah.
and she's like, oh, no, I'm a bit stage fright. And then Phoenix, she's just, yeah, she's pumped and she doesn't know any different. I don't think any of them know any different because music's just a part of our whole life, really. Even when we're at home and it's family dues and stuff, they're singing. It's just is what it is.
I did hear somewhere that you grew up singing in your language, in your native tongue, and then when you got to Australia's Got Talent, you had a crack at singing in English.
Yeah, first
Is that
time.
is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
That's
Because
ridiculous, man.
I'd never anticipated to be a singer, man. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I grew up obviously in Tamworth and singing traditional song and dance and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Um, so it's all a bit backward. I don't speak my language. I speak fluent English, but I grew up singing in language, not English. So when it come to Australia's Got Talent and taking on You're the Voice,
Mm,
it was like, you want to do this, you might as well do an English chorus. And it got up until the day of that performance, and
mm,
my team were just like, don't worry about it, just dance.
yeah.
It's too much pressure. And I was just like, man, I've come too far now. Like, let's do it. There's no
Mm.
turning back.
Give it a
So
crack.
the first time I'd ever sung on a stage in front of people in a performance point of view
Yeah.
was AGT when I did You're the Voice and
Do
punched
you know,
out that English bit.
I think my observation is that and the beauty of what you get to do is you get to sing in a language that otherwise might be forgotten, but when people hear it and it's their language, it rises in them, doesn't it? It just brings something.
Mm.
And it was interesting watching that performance again, as I have in just lead up to chatting to you. I
Yeah.
remember seeing it the first time, and it was one of those moments of like, it feels like a national anthem, and it has all of that romance behind it, and
Yeah.
all the thought, and you're seeing the dig there, and you're dancing, and then I'm hearing language, and I know what you're singing, but I have no idea what you're singing. And then I hear it in my language and bang, it just rises. And I think the beauty of that feeling that you're able to bring, do you find that children are responding to hearing things in another language? Is it fascinating to them?
Oh man, it's crazy because you can imagine the rubbish that's tried to be thrown down my throat, about converting to English and language doesn't really have a place in the mainstream world. People they're not going to get it. How can you engage an audience for, an hour and a half show, 95% language and all the blah blah blahs. And my thing is, you know what, man? Music is a universal language, and if something feels good, people they're gonna rock with it, and that's all. That's music, If you can evoke feeling and emotion in someone through music,
Yeah.
like you're gonna connect. But taking it back to You're the Voice, that was the whole plan and purpose was to create a situation to bring everyone together and show true reconciliation.
Mm.
And that was one of the points of doing that was I'm going to sing this song in my language and we're going to get to this moment in the chorus and I'm going to open up the door and go, let's sing. And everyone sung. And then the two back choruses off that are back in language and
Back in
everyone's
language.
just singing back in English to
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
language. And that's
Yeah.
reconciliation. And, that's coming together. And that's just a simple version of that. But I wanted to do that, and we achieved that. And then obviously singing with John Farnham and Brian May, Olivia Newton-John, around about 80,000 people in this stadium, and I'm singing my language chorus, and this whole stadium singing back
Yeah.
in English like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But in terms of these shows and everything I've done, I've held like 15,000 people for an hour of just language, and everyone's just partying and going nuts because people can just feel energy, and music is, it's an exchange of energy and it's an exchange of emotion, and that's the whole vibe of it, right? And I kind of feel like, as much as people go, it's my weakness because people don't understand what I'm saying, I feel like that's my superpower, because what that does is it allows someone to just not pull apart the lyric and just feel and
Right.
interpret it how they want to interpret it. And
Okay.
and I've been blessed because I've had people reach out to me from all around the world, and people like battling cancer have reached out to me, like, I've battled breast cancer the whole year, Mitch, and it's this song, Gula Gumali, that's gotten me through on repeat. What does it mean? And do you mind if I get that put in my tattoo sleeve? Because I've had, like,
Yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing. And I don't look at that as woe is me and this is filling up my ego. I just feel like I'm sort of a vessel for my ancestors to come through and their beautiful spirit to touch other people, because I feel like when we tap into language in our mother tongue and all that kind of a thing, it
Mm.
opens up a different part of us that I think and believe is quite spiritual.
I think, some of these experiences we've talked about, they're quite euphoric. They're quite ethereal. They are otherworldly at times.
Mm.
And then you go home.
Yeah. And then you go home. You wash the dishes and wash your car and mow the lawn.
And, creative people typically at your level have to live on adrenaline for a lot of the
Yeah.
time. And it's a
Yeah.
switch you flick on. And
Yeah.
so what happens to Mitch, the dad, when he
Mm.
gets off stage, goes home and realize I've got kids here that need me,
Yeah.
and your tank's emotionally full, but but your battery's drained from the energy.
Totally. And that's a whole nother learning curve in itself, I think, is well, with what I do or my personality, I actually have no drama working 16-hour days. It's not an issue for me. I'll get in the car at 5 and get home at 11 p.m. We're just talking about a show we got coming up. I think it's like a 5 a.m. leave, and we'll probably get home at, yeah, probably about 11 p.m. flying across the country or whatever. And I can do that consistently and it's not a problem. But that's also a little bit of my kryptonite, is you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to be able to switch off, and you have to be able to just turn it off, and you have to just be able to be in the now. And the now is at home with your family, your wife, your kids, and just chilling and not having to be going a million miles an hour and putting in these crazy hours, but just be kicking back and being on the couch and just being in that moment or going to the park. And I feel like I'm doing pretty well this year,
Mm.
because you have to learn and come into that. But this year's, I think, is a strong year for me in that, which has been beautiful. And my team's noticed that too. So shout out to my team, like, Mitch, man, you've really, you and Lele, you're just really stepping it up,
Mm.
with the juggle, and it's not a bad thing, man. It's really cool. It's good you're making it work. But my thing is, it's like we do live in this world now. It's very holistic and alternate, and I think that's beautiful, and I'm all for it. But man, there's no such thing as like finding that balance in what I do. It's a crazy juggle, and you've just got to get good at juggling it and make that juggle work. And I'm all down for making that juggle work.
Yeah, I think balance is just how you breathe. I think
Yeah.
you know everyone's got something. I grew up.
Yeah.
My parents were in church life, and
Cool.
it was hectic. And I've my world's followed that path as well,
Yep.
along with the creative stuff, but predominantly working in church life.
Yes.
And for all of the nights out and all of the crazy that happened for them, and all of the sacrifices they made financially and otherwise,
Mm.
my reflection has always been there was also another kid whose daddy was an emergency doctor who wasn't home. There was another kid who didn't have mum and dad at home. There was and again, as an adult, you can go back and reflect, but it still is that there's that little shadow of the little boy that grew up in the experience that he had.
Mm.
So for you, does the little anxious Mitch still come out?
Man, I've got good at healing him.
Yeah, great.
So I've really, the first time I actually identified that I had anxiety was in 2019 at a basketball, in the lead up to a basketball comp, a
Mm.
knockout. And this was before the music even was on the horizon. It was early 19, before AGT. And I was like, oh man, I think I got anxiety. And I made this pact with myself that every time I got fouled in that comp and I went to the free throw line, that I would cut off and basically rebuke anxiety off my life. So I'd get fouled and I go to the line, take a breath, and I go, man, I just cut anxiety off my life. I rebuke it. And I hit, and I'd take a deep breath and I'd hit every shot. And I made another pact to myself after that, that year I wouldn't be defined by anxiety anymore, and I wouldn't let it have a control over me. And then all of a sudden AGT and all these big things just went bang, here we are. And I just said, man, I'm not saying no to nothing. I'm stepping through all these doors. Let's roll.
Mm,
And I just stepped into it. And then obviously I just kept getting challenged because no one could anticipate what was about to happen to my career.
mm,
So then it just kept getting hectic, more hectic and hectic and hectic. And I've just kept combating it and letting go and healing and looking at myself and realizing where this comes from and this fear of rejection or fear of not fitting in and where it was all coming from, and just went on this hectic healing journey. So now I feel like I'm in like one of the best places of my life, and one of the big things I did as well was I changed my diet and I started to look into the alternate stuff like your gut health and how that impacts your brain and how it can impact anxiety. And, started to look at that young boy that you talk about, that young shadow, and go, what's important to him? And my wife, she's been pivotal in that as well. Like, for example, I had this birthday
mm.
and she rolled up at home and she put roof racks on our little Corolla. We had this little Corolla on it. I said, "Oh, okay, Lele,
Beautiful
thanks for
picture
that."
right there. Yeah.
And Lele said to me, she said, "I want you to get your dad's surfboards out, and we're going to go to the ocean this weekend, and you need to spend time with your dad."
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty heavy." So
Yeah.
that's all I've got is a couple of touch footy shirts and two surfboards that were his.
Mm,
And I remember like having to really debunk what was happening to me the next hours. And because I started to go, oh, you sure you want to go to the coast? It's a bit long. Maybe I'll leave the boards at home. You don't want to put that, the board's
yeah.
so long to put on the roof. Like, what if I don't have a wetsuit? And I went through this whole thing and even like getting a bit like moody.
Mm, mm,
And I was like, oh, this is grief, man.
mm.
This, we actually have to put the board on here and we have to go and you got to go sit out there with your dad. And I just went and sat out there with him, man, and caught that first wave and could hear his voice in his hand. Woo! And I just went on a mad surfing buzz and started to nourish this little boy, and just started to do these little things like, I never actually owned a surfboard because I was the kid from the country that would go and visit his dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy a surfboard and I'm going to go surfing. I'm going to make a point to go surfing this year, not for Mitch now, but for this young kid. And I'm going to start nourishing him, and I'm going to try and listen to this voice. And even, when I'd get in situations where I'd start to feel a little bit of that anxiety or whatever, go, man, it's all right. I got you now.
Yeah.
And someone said to me, you're in a position now as a dad to be a dad to that younger version of yourself. And sometimes you got to sit with that and ask him what's wrong and let that little boy come to the surface and talk to you and go, I'm scared. I don't want to go into this. And you've got the beautiful position now to parent him and father him the way that you wish he was fathered and to talk to that young boy. So I started to do all that stuff. And it's kind of been pivotal in a lot of ways for me, just not in it. I mean, it flows into every aspect of your life, but just as me as a man and just a human being, it's been beautiful.
You've changed the whole shape of your world in the last 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
In the middle of all that, there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Lots happened, man.
now you're sucking in some air going, okay. And it feels like I'm talking to perhaps a different guy that I would have talked to 5 years ago.
I think so.
And it feels like there's hope on the horizon. You've got a bit of a spark in your eye, a bit of a there's a lot of beautiful things coming down the way. So what are you doing to prepare yourself for what's next?
Yeah, man, it's such a great question. You know, like when you even say to me now, it feels like I really am a different person in a lot of ways. Like even 5, 6 years ago, coming on this podcast, I would have been up so early, showering, thinking about what I'm wearing, being on time, getting the lighting right, making sure that I portray this image that I've now got. Where, to be honest, man, this morning I got up early. I took the car in to get serviced. I went and got some ear impressions to get some ear molds done. I saw my osteo, got snap, cracked, and popped. And I just rolled up home, give the girls a kiss, said see you later to school, chucked the ring light on, and here I am. And it's all good. You know what I mean?
That's perfect
And
for our podcast, man. That's beautiful. I love it.
yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's even like with stage and stuff, before it'd be like if a sound check was running late or something was flown out, I'd just start freaking out.
Mm.
Where now I just rock up, plug my stuff in, and they're like, "You're like the easiest dude we've ever worked with. You're so kick back." And I'm like, "Man, I'm just plugging in and I'm playing. This is what, there's so much to it, but there doesn't have to be all these overheads in thought. I'm blessed, and I just believe wherever I'm on the right path, doors will open, and I'll keep doing this, and I'll keep rocking with it and spreading this message of love and hope and togetherness, if that's what I'm meant to be doing. But it's really interesting what you're asking me now, because I feel like I'm about to go into another season of self-discovery and self-growth. And I'm really looking to leaning into that, and to reconnecting with different parts of myself, and to go into different parts of me that I never knew existed, and grow in them. And I'm really looking forward to this next season. And I've only started opening up these conversations probably in the last 72 hours. So
Wow.
it's a great question, and I'm really looking forward to that next chapter. And I think for me, I love my career, I love what I do, but where I'm at and where I've always been at even before that is I just really want to be a good dad, and I want to be a good husband, and I want to be a part of working with my wife to lead our family in a great direction, and to cut off those transgenerational traumas, and
Mm.
and to break the cycle, and to just set new normals for our fam. And that's what the most important thing is. And anything that happens in our career is obviously a blessing, but it's all really about that first and foremost, I reckon.
I think that's well, there's a certain courage and bravery you've just expressed there in saying what you dream to achieve for your children. The trick I always find is to not create new pressures for yourself
Yeah,
whilst creating giant goals.
yeah,
I remember as a kid, you'd come up with your giant goals and say, I'm going to be an astronaut or whatever it was,
yeah,
the project in grade six, because nothing was impossible as a kid. That's the
yeah,
beauty of a kid.
yeah.
And as a dad, we're trying to create the gap between dreaming and reality for a
Mm,
child. We're
mm,
trying to allow that to be there before adulthood tries to crush it.
yeah.
And for you, I feel like in a healthy adult, what you're doing is trying to put back in that margin for dreaming.
Totally. And I,
Uh,
I speak to so many of my friends, of just people in everyday today life that are my age. And I'm just like, man, you're too young to be this jaded.
right, right, right.
Like don't be a dream killer, man.
Mm,
Like if we were teenagers and all that, and you were speaking like that, you'd be like, wouldn't want nothing to do with yourself.
mm,
Like dare to dream, dare to speak it out, and dare to believe that whatever you're facing today you don't have to be facing it tomorrow. Like my thing is I believe amongst many other things, but the reason why I've been able to be here is because I'm just crazy. I'm just like, let's do it, man. If you say to me today, like,
yeah.
Mitch, man, I want to do this podcast with you. It's been great chatting with you. I'm not going to sit there and go, these are all the reasons why it can't happen. I'll be like, man, we could really do this here. I'm going to talk to my team. Let's get it going. Blah 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 blah. Like, I'm happy to dare to dream. Like, if and I'll never forget. I had this moment, the year of 2019,
Yeah.
where it was the back end of 18 in the Christmas,
Mm,
and I was walking back into the house. You're the voice come on.
hmm.
And I just
Yeah.
started to sing it, just being funny. And this aunt that was around that I knew at the time, I'll never forget it. I don't know if she knew I was in earshot, but she was just like, "Oh my God, that is horrible. What a
Oh,
terrible voice." And I'll never forget though, this thing
yeah.
upturned in me that went,
Yeah.
"What? Man, I could sing this song. Who am I to even think that?" You know what I mean? I'm not even
Yeah.
a singer really at this point. But
Yeah.
this thing in me was able to dare that, I reckon I could do it. What do you mean? Fast forward like 4 or 5 months later, I'm on the stage, not only singing it, but singing it in a completely different language. And I never had vocal coaching up into that point or anything. And the only reason I was able to step into that, because I was just like this opportunity presented, and I thought, you know what? Man, I think I could actually do this. But if I went and asked a whole bunch of people around me, They'd
Mm.
probably be like, dude, you're mad. Can you even sing? So sometimes you've just got to dare to believe, and whatever you've got, whatever's been put in your heart is there because it's been put there. And sometimes it's not, it hasn't been put there by you. You know, I believe there is a plan and a purpose for everyone. And sometimes we get so sidetracked by the wider world that we don't listen to that little voice in our heart that's trying to say, man, you got this. You can really do this here. Like if you step into this, it might be scary, but doors are going to open and you got to just dream and do it. But I think we go through life and there's so many pressures in life to get the money, get the house deposit, then just be totally tied to this house, trying to pay this house off, near broke over this house. And all of a sudden life just starts crumbling on top of you and you stop dreaming and you get jaded and it all gets too much. And we weren't born to be so enslaved to all of these pressures of life, of how it should look. We were born to be able to dream and to chase things and to look in the mirror and to grow and to just smile more. That's my belief anyway.
I was watching a Kirk Franklin Tiny Desk last night actually, and he sings that song "Smile," and yeah, it's one of those. Gospel music obviously
Yeah.
is one of those spaces, and I watch. For me, I think it's always interesting to notice what you notice.
Mm.
Um, when I'm watching those, for me, I was watching that Tiny Desk and the bass player, don't know his name, ridiculous, unbelievable. Just, one of those guys that can just
Yeah.
play, and it's not fair how well he can play.
Yeah.
But I found myself watching this song Smile and just grinning from ear to ear because of this bass line,
Mm.
and then trying to logic out. My day had been hectic, everything was unreasonable, the humans around me are not cooperating with the way
Mm.
I want the direction to go, but a bass line made me smile. And I think that again, we've talked about the power of music and the
Yeah.
nature of that. But for you, the rewiring of energy to be a leader in a family, and not just, it sounds like there's been a whole season of you just had to survive, get through it,
Yeah.
hold on,
Mm.
suck in the air. God's been good. You've got this new trajectory via what a wild ride of that from
Mm.
Christmas 2018 through to AGT in 2019.
Yeah.
From someone that said that's a horrible voice to the
Crazy,
world
huh?
going, wow.
You can't write this stuff.
No, it's crazy. Like you said, you're crazy, but we love that about you. Uh, I guess the other side of this is
Yeah.
managing expectation.
Mm.
The distance between reality and expectation is
Yeah.
where anxiety lies.
Mm.
What is it about you that helps you go? Me and Lele and the kids. We're dreaming big.
Mm.
Anything's possible. Let's go for it. But if we end up eating bone broth and having each other, that's okay too.
Bone broth's so good for your gut health. So let's just
Yeah.
put that out there.
I can't believe I teed you up for that. Anyway.
Look, man, you know what it is? I think I just got crazy faith, man.
Right.
But my wife, she's got real crazy, that steadfast faith.
Mm.
But I think with me, it's just daring to put it out there, daring to write it down and daring to speak it out and just daring to just go for it. And I know wholeheartedly that, if that happened, we strip back to the bone broth and all that, my wife would be sweet and my kids would be sweet. Um, it's probably, like you said, me with my expectations. Right now, I think it's, it is that it's trying to pull back and go, we're all good and we're always going to be all good. So let's not live in fear and let's just go for it. But then at the same time, you can be consumed by this world and where we're in and go, no, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go, we got to chase this endless carrot of money. And it's a bit of a rude awakening when you see that, because then you got to go, I'm taking these days off and I don't want anyone to tell me about any jobs that are coming through. If the biggest paycheck is coming through on that day, don't tell me. And I'm sorry that we have to let it go, but I'm going to go and have some time off. And that's probably my struggle, is because I love what I do. We do well in it, but you can't let that consume you and let that be your world, because there's a whole life out there that's waiting for you to live. And I feel like there's a lot of people around me, like mates and close people, that are coming to that point as well. Like, man, we're working so hard. My biggest challenge is to just take time off and to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just stop, man. I don't want to know anything about, just no one texts me nothing. I'm just gonna go and hang out on it. Who cares what we do? But we've just got to do it. And I'm coming to that now. Like, it can be really hard for me to do that stuff. Like, just book a holiday. It can be so hard for me, or just book a night away. So hard. And I think that there's so many reasons to that. And it's not just you're a workaholic. It's, you grew up and did it tough, things just didn't come easy financially. So whenever we bought something, it wasn't like I'm going to the shop now, I'm going to buy these Nikes. It was like I'm going to pay less shoes, and these shoes are going to be on lay-by for the next fortnight or 4 weeks. And when I get these shoes, they're going to be a Payless Shoes brand like Omni or something. I used to rock the Omnis. They were the
Come on,
best
come
that
on.
are
Yeah,
that are a replica of Globe or whatever. And that's what you did, So you become
yeah,
an adult
yeah.
and you're doing well, and life's good, and you go to pay for something. Oh, I don't know if we can do that. And you'll rack your head for like could be a couple of days whether you make that purchase because of how you come up. So I'm coming into all different phases over the last couple of years of breaking that stuff off because, one blessing of working really, really hard is you can go and book that holiday because that's why you work really, really hard. It's not just so you've got these great savings. It's so you can actually live and do things and give experiences to your family that you never had and all that kind of stuff. But it's all about really, to me, all this shadow work is all to do with that younger version of yourself, what you come through because it really sets
Yeah.
up how you're going to be. And a lot of people don't acknowledge that, but those formative years and what you come through and it totally wires everything. But then you've got to, if you're up for it, go in and try and unwire and rewire because life changes, and that's a good thing.
Oh man, absolutely. I think, the work you're doing and the work we're talking about and the conversations we have on this pod are very deliberately about admitting that we've all got, we've all got a little shadow there,
Yeah,
and we need to treat that little boy a bit better
yeah,
and love him a little
yeah,
bit more
yeah,
and forgive him and all the rest of it.
totally.
Uh, and again, for you as there's so many areas, obviously, being an Indigenous singer and speaking to the culture and trying to bring that culture out in a positive way
Mm,
and in a way that is understood cross-culturally as well,
mm,
because there's so many divides there. Obviously, I know your next single is coming out with another Indigenous rapper,
yeah,
Blackfellas. That comes out soon.
yeah, yeah. Looking forward to that. Black Followers. I've got two rappers on that. So I actually got AB Right. So Black Followers was a song from like early 2000s, like 2005 or something like that.
Mm.
And it was like this anthem amongst our community, this amazing hook. And I'll never forget when I first saw it. And then I was just this kid in school with this little, you remember like the iPod Shuffle?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the little, I was just pumping that
You
and
were
that
the coolest
song.
cat in town if you had one of those, man.
Let's go. And and anyways, many, many years later, full circle moment, I crossed paths with Uncle AB right there, and we become pretty close. And I just said to him one day, man, we should bring it back.
Bring back, yeah.
And he was like, let's do it. So then I found another brother who I know, Jamal Yemi, who's this up and coming
Yeah.
incredible rapper as well, and said, you know what? You want to jump on board so we can get some of that young blood? And then we'll get the OG from back in
So you got the
2005.
generations, man.
Man, let's do it. So yeah, Blackfellas it's a thing. We've done our best to try and bring it into the now, and it's an epic party, and it's an epic anthem. Like this song really impacted me as a young person, just in terms of that pride and that love.
Mm.
And I hope we've done it justice. But it's so deadly to have the OG on there.
Amazing.
The
Yeah.
man that was spitting the bars that had me so pumped up as a kid.
Yeah.
Well, we've got him on as a part two, and bringing all that old school early 2000s flavor to it.
Can I just suggest when you launch it, whatever the launch party is,
Yeah,
everybody gets an iPod Shuffle.
dude, that would be the best, huh? I would
And
love that.
the only song on it is every version of Blackfellas. That's it. That's the only song they can listen to. And it just repeats. There's
Yeah.
like some 20-minute jam version of it as well. All right.
I know. And you know what? To anyone out there with this song title, you have my permission to just freely say chuck Blackfellas on. Because what I've noticed is even with my incredible producer and a whole bunch of peeps, when they're like, "Well, what's the name of that song?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Blackfellas." I feel them go, "Oh,
Are we allowed to?
yeah." I'm like, "Blackfellas, man, just say it. That's the song title. It's you got freedom to say. Just play Blackfellas. Let's go."
So good. Mitch Tambo has given us permission to use the title of the actual song. Yeah,
Please do it.
decent, man. Hey, man, I know we're probably running out of time, but
Yeah.
just so happy to have you on the pod, and thank you for sharing so open and honestly. I guess, is there any encouragement you want to give? Maybe something from the way the presentation you bring to the schools and that sort of stuff that you think is universal and needs to be heard?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's pretty basic, and that is, whatever you're going through today, whatever you're going through this month, I just want you to know that, there really is a beautiful plan and purpose for your life. And whatever you're currently going through, whatever storm you're navigating through, it doesn't have to define where you end up at all.
Mm.
But that's a choice that, you know, you've got to make, and that's not to be defined by it. And you've really got to believe in your heart that you can get through it, and you will get through it. And I just want you to know, if you haven't heard it lately, that you're so loved. And if you haven't heard it, I want you to know that I love you and you're loved and you can really get through it. And life wasn't, you weren't brought into this world by just some random mistake. Nothing here's a mistake. It's all ordained, and you're here. And the fact that you made it here, and the fact that you made it through the womb and out into this world, you're an absolute miracle. And sometimes we forget that. Like, we look around and the sun's out and there's a blue sky. It's all a miracle, but we get bogged down in the trauma and the trials and tribulations, but we can also get through it, and we can be set free, and we can just live the best version of our life possible. And that doesn't mean, being out there performing in front of 80,000 people. It can honestly mean just being a good mum and dad and working full time at IGA and just providing and keeping them lights on. And that's success, So I just want you to know that you're worth everything good, and you can really do it.
Mitch Tambo, much love. Thanks for being on Father Figures.
Father Figures, let's go. Thanks for having me, Yanni and Gully.